Hey viewers, and this week we're going to be doing a brand new project which is going to be a design for a blog. My name is Roy, I'm a web designer. If you do find the video useful, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get into the video. Okay viewers, so what we're going to do this week is a very simple design, and if you're a beginner and if you do end up working for a startup, then you might be asked to design a blog. And a blog is a very common thing with startups, and the main purpose of a blog is to post content, and this has to be done frequently. And what this would then do is build up traffic and then hopefully build up leads, business leads, just building up the name of the brand or the product. Anyway, what we're going to do is, just to run through it quickly, we're going to look at one inspiration that I absolutely love. We're going to do some card testing. So we're going to start simple. We're going to just use one simple card and then make a second card, and then we're going to use the grid to then compose different layouts and make it responsive. So we're going to do all of this, and yeah, so I hope you're ready. And the inspiration that I want to show is Lovers Magazine, and this one here is a blog that promotes designers from around the world, and I think it's really nice in terms of the layout. So as I scroll, what we're going to do is we're going to try and recreate some of these cards, and you can see here they got a 5-column. This one is almost like a 2 and a 3 ratio, and here you can see there's just really nice layouts, different cards. They have the title or the category, the title, some paragraph text. So we're going to just try and create something similar to these, and we're going to base it off of one card. So to kick it off, we'll go back to Figma, and what we're going to do is we're going to get the Pomo timer up, which is an app to time box your work. I tried to put a 30-minute limit on this, and let's see if we can achieve that. So I've just hit play. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a card, and a card has probably a couple of different elements. So if I hit the T tool, or if I hit the T on the keyboard, we're going to say title. The font I'm going to use is Inter, and the title will be around 24 pixels, and we're going to go with semi bold. The line heights will stick with 32. What we then do is we'll hit another T, and then again this is going to be a paragraph. So we can just put in some dummy text, and we're going to then say our body text is 18. So we're going to go a bit bigger than the default size, which is 16 on the web, and we're going to say the line height is around 24. And the reason why is because we got the 8-point grid. We're trying to stick to numbers that are divisible by 2, or they always increment by 8 or go lower than 8, for example. And the reason for that is, you'll see in a minute, everything lines up nicely in terms of the grid, vertical spacing. So what we're doing here is we created a paragraph text, and a plugin to get is Lorem Ipsum. So I'm going to straight away hit Command and /. This will let me search for plugins. Once you've installed this plugin, which is Lorem Ipsum, you can just search for it, click. This is just one way of finding the plugins quite quickly. Generate. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of some of the text because it's quite long. So let's go up to around there and just delete and delete some more. Okay, so we got some paragraph text, and we're going to make that regular. Okay, so again, if we go back to Lovers Magazine, again you can see here title, paragraph, and we can have a category. So text tool again, we're just going to say category. We are going to make this all caps, and we are going to go 14 pixels, so it's small. We're going to say 18 line height, and we're going to give this a bit more spacing of 2 pixels, because when it goes smaller you want to increase the letter spacing just to give it some more breathing room. Okay, so we got three elements: the category, the title, and then the paragraph. And then the other elements, so 4 elements, is the picture. So if we hit the F key, we just draw a random size, and this is going to have a bunch of images. Now the way we're going to do it is we're going to have a whole bunch of different ones. So what I've done, I created a folder on the desktop. I've downloaded a few images from Unsplash, and they're like different sizes, so you can get what you like, or you can find my collection, which is under tech blog. I think it is minimal tech, even though this is a mixture of nature as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is you go into the frame, we're going to straight away hit the plus, and we are going to then choose image. So we're going to go to that folder on the desktop, and we're just going to start putting these in. So open, and we're going to put in a whole bunch of them, so you'll see why we do this. Okay, so now we have a bunch of images. What we're going to do is we're going to make this into a component. So we are going to do Command Alt and K, and we're just going to call this base, and then we're going to hit Command D to duplicate it, or actually Command Z to undo. If you hit the Option key, hold it down, just drag that. And the reason why we're doing that is because we can test this card, see how it does in different ways, and we can make adjustments to the main base. So here, if I go here, I can go like this and see how it reacts in different sizes, right? Now, the next thing to do is we want to combine all of these. So these two, I want to bring these close together. So if I convert it to an auto layout, so Shift A, we're going to say a spacing of 8, well actually spacing of 0. Actually, let's say 8. This one we're also going to make an auto layout, so Shift A, we're going to get rid of that and that spacing. And this one we want to say, okay, that's fine. So what we're going to do now is we are going to, let's just think now. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to make this into a card. So we're going to select everything, we're going to hit Shift A, and we're then going to say card. Now, as you can see here, if I resize, it doesn't work, and it's important to test this out. So if I go to this one, and I want that to fill container, and I also want this to fill container, and then if I go to this one, we just hit fill container. This one we also want it to fill container. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, you can see here it's putting some spacing between items. If I hit 0, or again the grid is 16 pixels, or let's say 8 pixels. Okay, so now if I test this out, you can see here this is going way out. We just need to, interesting. This is where we go into crazy auto layout. So this is frame 2, and why is it going crazy like that? We'll see in a minute. So frame, so that must be a different frame. wonder what frame that is. If I hit delete, I'm not sure where that frame came from. Okay, so we've got frame 1. Ah, now I know where it came from. So if I hit Shift A on this one and I get rid of the spacing, we want that to fill container, and you'll see why in a minute. So we've got 2 frames, got another frame, and we've got another frame. And again, let's test this out. Okay, so if we do that, you can see straight away this is breaking. So if I go to frame 2, I want this to fill container, but that doesn't work. So you have to actually go to the text and say fill container. Okay. So as I do that, you can see now that it's a lot more flexible and fluid and responsive. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to make this into a component. So Command Alt K, we'll just call this card 1. And what we're going to do is duplicate this. So Command D, and rather than do a variant, we're just going to create a second version. Okay, just to keep it simple, even though the layout has got a bit nuts with the auto layout. So what we're going to do is we got card and we got another card, and in here we have to we got card 1. This one we are going to break this or detach it. So the shortcut for that is Command Alt and B, and the reason why is we're going to create a different layout for this. And the layout we're going to go with is image on the right, text on the left. So image on the right, text on the left. So let's see how this goes. So if I go in and I then say I want it to be horizontal, you can see it's gone a bit crazy. And if I go to the base, I want it to go into the base. Actually, if I go here, we're going to say fill container. Wow, things got absolute nuts. So here, this one, I want it to fill container. That's better. So basically, you're going to each frame and you're saying, I want it to fill container. And you're looking at the text, and they should all be fill container as well, just to keep it simple. And then the base, we also want that to fill container, which is what it's doing. Now, the only other thing is we need these two to be in a auto layout because they're going to be in its own column. So again, if I hit Shift A, we want these to go vertically, and we want that to fill container as well. So now we're getting to that image on the right. So I just hit the image and go right. This one we also want to fill container. Okay, so we're getting close to that image on the right, text on the left. But this one, we want this to fill, and we want this to fill. So everything is filling. So again, we just click on there. We want that to fill. But this one, we actually want the text to align from the bottom. There we go. And now if I test this out, this is still fluid and flexible, okay, which is very, very sweet. So we created 2 cards, and I'm going to hit Command OK. This is card 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a grid. So we're going to hit the F key. We're going to go MacBook Pro, and now we're going to see how crazy it gets. And if you haven't created a grid before, you just go to Layout Grid, hit the plus. We're going to go inside. I put it to 8-point grid. We're going to go to columns. We're going to go with a 12-column grid. The gutter is going to be 24 pixels, and the margin on the left and the right is going to be 80. And I'll show you why. So if I hit the F and just measure this, this is going to the 1280 pixel width. And this is very common in website layouts. So if I delete that, so the nice thing about this grid now is it's going to stretch which is pretty sweet, and it's going to be responsive. So again, I'm going to go back to 1440. Another thing we can introduce is the vertical grid. So if I hit the plus key, and here I'm going to go to I'm going to go to rows. We're going to say 1000. We're going to have a gutter of 0, but we're going to say from the top we're going to have a height of 8. So now you can see we got these nice vertical rows, which is pretty sweet, right? So now to recap, we got rows, we got columns. Now we're going to see that this all fits nicely. So if I duplicate this card, I'm then going to actually Command Z, Alt and drag across, which I think works quite well. So here we can see things line up. We want this to be all the way across, and we want it to be 800 height. So this is like the hero bit. And then if I just drag this down, it's going to get quite big. So you can see it already lines up. Now the only thing that doesn't line up is the middle. And if I go into this card, I can now say we want a gap of 24, and now it's lining up nicely. You can see that it's all lining up to the grid. This one, we actually want the text to be bigger. I'm going to say, let's say 32 with a line height of 40. Okay. So we got our hero card, and now what we're going to do is we are going to recreate this layout, a similar layout. So go back, again we get this card, we duplicate that, we drag it in, we try and line it up here to the left. We are going to take out about half, and we're going to give this height about 600. Again we go into this spacing here, we say 24, again it lines up nicely, and yeah, that was pretty quick. And then the next one, we're going to duplicate this card, so Command D, drag it, go in here, and what we're going to do is we are going to line it up, and we are going to say, yeah, this is going to be here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to reduce some of this text. Okay, and then here we're going to duplicate this one, drag it down, and we're going to select both of these cards and put this into an auto layer. So Shift A, and the gap between those is 24. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to try and line this up with the height of this, which is 600. So we're just going to drag it up like that. We're going to then go here into this card, and we're going to say we want it to be fill container and fill container both ways. We want it to fill, and we want it to fill. Okay, so now it's evenly distributed. Okay, so now we just duplicate that whole thing, bring it across, and you can see straight away everything is lining up pretty nicely. And you see how quick we've done that from two cards. The next thing we want to do is combine these. So hit both of these columns, Shift A, and then what we want to do is we want to combine these two. So hit these two and hit Shift A. Again, it's keeping that 24 gap. So now, just as a quick test, if I was to stretch this, you can see it doesn't work. So Command Z. So the way we have to do this is you go to this one, you're going to hit Shift, and here you're going to click on that, but that's not working for some reason. So what that means is you actually go into this whole column, and we go to fill container. This one should also be fill container. So now, if I then stretch this whole thing, it still doesn't work. And the last thing to do is to click the whole frame, and we want it to go left and right. So hold the shift key down, and there we go. And now if I stretch it, you can see it's not working. And let's see why that is the case. So if I go back to 1440, we're getting close. So left and right, this is filling container. So if I go into that column, we fill. With that column, we fill. This is filling. So I'm pretty confident it's going to work now. Yay! It worked. So you can see that it is being responsive, and it's aligning to the grid. The one that's not being responsive is this one. So if we go back to 1440, we just click on there, and we need to do the same thing. So hit shift and click on there. Now what we can do is we can now drag it out, and you can see it is lining up nicely. Another thing to do is we can go select both of these, hold shift down, we can say the spacing between that is 100, and you can see it's all lining up nicely. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit more fun now. So we're going to get this card, we're going to hit Command D, going to drag it over, and what we're going to do is we're just going to bring it like that. So now it's snapping. We're going to Command D for 3 times. 1, 2, 3. We're going to select all of them. We're going to hit Shift A. We are then going to have a gap of 24 between them, and we're going to do the same thing where we hit Shift, but that's not going to work yet because we have to make each of these fluid, fill container, and fill container, and fill container. Okay, so now we select the whole thing, we hit Shift, and then it's going to stretch out nicely. Perfect. Okay, so now the beauty of this is, if I then, so now we are creating a system of different layouts. Okay, so if I just Command D that whole thing, and the spacing between these two is 100, the spacing between these two is 100. Let's say we want a 3 column, delete it straight away as fluid. Command D that, go down, and these two gap, let's say 100, and we delete one, straight away it's fluid. I mean, that is just very, very powerful. And here everything is fluid. Not bad at all. 1440, not bad. Okay, not bad at all. Okay, we're hitting 24 minutes. And the last little thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce different images. Okay, so to switch off the grid, you just do Control G, and I think that's a nice image. So we can change these. So if we go in, we just hide it. You can see that already. And we can go into each one and just hide them. Beautiful. Okay, you see how quick this is. We've done the hard work at the beginning. We created a system for the card, and now we're just hiding to show different images. And I think that is just the beauty of creating components, cards. It's just absolutely wonderful. Okay, so again, I'm going to just get different images. Probably don't have enough images, right? But that's okay. We're just showing variations and just double clicking inside. Okay, and we're just seeing different ones. Okay, wow, this one as well. We just go in and we hide, and you can see we practically created a very simple blog index page. So in the next video, tomorrow, we're going to create a blog post page, and that will be interesting. So yeah, this is just, you can see how quickly we've done this. We got the hero, we got another section, we got 4 column, 3 column, and a 2 column. Beautiful. Let's bring back the grid. So Control G. Let's bring the logo, and it's very simple. We click, we hit the T. We're just going to call this blog. And we're going to make this big, 24, and we're going to give it semi-bold. And it's going to align from there. Now, we're going to introduce a couple more. So Command D and Command D. Oh, actually, here we're going to say about. We're going to make this 18 pixels. Command D, and this is going to be contact. And now what we're going to do is select these two, hit Shift A, spacing between is 24. Let's see what happens. So again, I could say something like 40. Get these two, hit Shift A, and I am going to say that this width is going to snap all the way there. This one, we want this to fill container, or actually Command Z. We want the whole thing to be space, space between. So now it goes all the way across. Really, really nice. This one we do. We want this to have a height. So 16. We want it to have a height of 80. So 24. Ooh, it's getting there. And not sure. Okay, if I go in here, the line height is 28. I think this will make it, no. Vertically aligned in the middle. Okay, so let's say that they are 28 and 28. Ooh. 26. Okay. So now we're giving it a height of 80, but saying that, let's stick to the grid, 8-point grid, 24. So it's a height of 76. We can then align that from the top, and we can say, so here this is not lining up. So this is a nice thing about the grid. Why is it not lining up? So let's figure this out. So if I say it's 20 and 20, still not lining up. So this one here is semi-bold. If we make this the same line height, 24, we might get somewhere. So 24 and 24. Yeah, that works. You can see it's lining up now. So a height of 72, and the space in between these two is 32, but we actually want that to be, right at the top. So I've selected all. I'm just gonna hit Shift and drag it up. So now you can see it's snapping there. So this is lining up nicely. Control G, you can see that it is really starting to work well together. Okay, so blog, about, contact, and then probably the last thing we want to do is to get the footer. So Command D, this one, let's bring that right down to the bottom, and here we're going to change this to 18. We're going to just say copyright 2021 blog, all rights reserved. Okay, and then we're just going to get a couple of things. So we're going to bring in the social. So to get these, you can go to simpleicons.org and download the 3 of them. Simpleicons.org, I've just dragged these in. I'm going to then put this into an auto layout, Shift A, spacing between of 24, cut that, go in here, paste it inside, and boom, it goes straight in. Let's delete those two. Very, very nice. So we now have a very simple footer. Okay, very quick. So we created this simple layout, and the only last thing we can do is hit Command and / glyph picker. You can download this plugin as well. Once you have this plugin, I look for the copyright, so which is here. Click on that because I can't remember the shortcut on the Mac, and then go in here and then we paste it, space, and now we have the copyright symbol. Okay. Whew. So around 30 minutes we have done a very simple blog website. We've done the index page. What we're going to tackle tomorrow is the blog post page, and we've done a lot of different variations. It's pretty quick what we've done, and we've done it from 2 cards. This one where it has a variation of images, so you can just show and hide, and the other thing is it's all responsive. So again, Control G, and those are responsive but not these two. Okay, so what we have to do is, again, we just have to hit Shift and left and right, Shift left and right. Okay, so now if we now drag it, you can see the header is starting to be fluid. So 1440. I mean, how nice is that? Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next video.